All right, hello, hello, hello. So we're back in the career game here. Up. Stand by. Here we go. Back in the career game here, and we're gonna do some mining. You know, I was trying to reinvent the wheel and get a bunch of different miners going. I think what I'm gonna do is grab one of my older vehicles. Let's see what I have out in the world here, because apparently we have something in the world. Let's see what we have going out here. Map vehicles, players, see what we have on there. Okay, so we have, take that back to the workbench. Alright, so that is, shit, did I want to do that? Let's see. I actually kind of think I didn't want to do that. So let's go ahead, I'm going to reload the game. I want to keep that there. What we're going to do is take one of my older mining vehicles that's in the thumbnail. That works really well. And what I was talking about before is I need a stationary mining vehicle so that I can, you know, kind of do most of my stuff running trips back and forth. And so this will make it so that I can more quickly get some coal back and forth between the base. And the problem with coal is it's not worth a lot. So because it's not worth a lot of money, I need to be able to get huge quantities in short periods of time to really make it worth my while. So we've got the loader already up there. And then I'm going to bring up a different vehicle here. Some of you may recognize this. Let's see. We'll take off. Teleport is off. Okay, that's good. All right, good. So bring in this vehicle here. And we got to watch our money a little bit. We don't have tons of money, so I got to see if this is even going to work. So this is the mining harvester. We only have 16 left. And then what is the 45? How much is that? 17 probably? Yeah, just over what we need for money. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and we need to make some cash. So let's go ahead and sell some diesel. That's going to be a good way to make some cash. So we'll grab one of my land vehicles here. Let's grab this. This was for one of Alistair's challenge. I never got it finished. Just a little mini truck. These are some of my favorite vehicles to make, these little tiny things, because like it takes a lot of engineering to be able to get the engine to be powerful and to get a proper transmission in there. Like I want to do Alistair's Master Builder Challenge, but the problem is, you know, so you're essentially using one gear and one cylinder, and the whole time all I want to do is make a proper transmission. You know, I know the part of the challenge is to you know, not do that, but it's like the whole time I just want to make a proper transmission because it'll be more fun for me to make the transmission work well. It's like you see, this thing has a tiny little motor. You see how it just zips around fast and is, and that's what I like, is to get the most out of a tiny little motor and to squeeze it all into a build. I find that to be most enjoyable. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll grab the helicopter. And we'll go sell some of this diesel. That will give us some passive income because we can go drop off the module and it won't cost us much to have that module sitting in the world. Alright, and then we want to bring in the module. Alright, module lines up nicely, and then we're going to make sure it has its diesel in it. Yep, full of diesel. If we look at our diesel supply over here, we still have lots and lots of diesel. It sells for $3 a liter, so right there, that's a good 18,000. So that's helpful. Alright, so we need to get this money rolling so we can do what I want to do here with this. We're just a touch short on money, so. Put the gear up. There goes the gear. Still need to work a little bit on tuning the gyro so it's not as bouncy, but it's not bad. I screwed up. That's alright. Damn it, I screwed up. I should not have spawned this with the helicopter because I can't despawn the helicopter now. So that was a mistake. I should not have done that. Because I spawned them together, if I were to try to despawn the helicopter, it would despawn this container as well. So here comes the gear. So we'll run some missions, we'll do some other stuff. I really wanted to get that mining vehicle in, but it's going to be a little bit short on cash until we get the some diesel sold here, because we got a lot of our capital tied up in diesel. Alright, it's pumping out. Alright, so we're selling quite a bit of diesel, and you can see it come pouring off. And again, that was a mistake because I can't get rid of the helicopter now, so I can't passively sell this, which sucks. But see how quickly we can get rid of that diesel. I'll teleport around. We'll go do some other stuff. So we had for missions. I have enough to get a boat out. We had to search the area. Ooh, 11,000. That's pretty good. Black fishing boat has emergency. This one is screwed up. That one's not going to work. So we're going to teleport back. Kind of as a IRP. It is changing characters. So we got a character doing this, and we'll just teleport over there. Get our rescue boat out. That 11,000 is going to be good money for us, so we want that. Alright, so we'll head out to this rescue here. Up there. It's worth 11,000, so that's good. You see we're constantly getting more money here from the... constantly getting more money from selling that diesel, so that's good. Started working on a panel for this boat. It's going to have speed, heading, RPM rather, of both engines. So started working on that Lua panel. Might, if I feel like working on a little bit of Lua, we'll do that. But yeah, I was trying to reinvent the wheel, building some new mining equipment, and I've already got a bunch of mining equipment I'm working on, and I'm like, you know what, the one that's in the screenshot is really effective piece of equipment, so I figured I'd just use that. The problem is it's getting a little costly right now for me to use. I can see the rescue already, it's right there. There's that hospital boat that's a pain in the ass. Having a checkable box for the hospital boat would be helpful because I don't really want it and it uses up a lot of resources. And I got a good enough PC, it doesn't really affect me. But I would say I'm pretty well slowed down by part of it. Like, a bunch of stuff going on right around here. We got a lot of helicopters in the world, AI helicopters. But it's not too bad. I've got good logic, FPS of around 60. Physics is at 60, yeah, so... Yeah, so... It's not really doing anything to me. This mission is borked. I couldn't find the person to rescue, so that one will just cancel off at some point. But this is this dude over here. This could be even that dude, but I doubt it because I haven't seen the black boat yet. Maybe this guy is actually the one off the blue boat. I finally just found him. He could actually drop his ass off the hospital boat too. I could use the anchor. Trying to not have to get out. Ugh, I almost got him without getting out. Alright, let's see what the mission looks like here. Okay, so this is probably the dude for this, actually. Yeah, this is the dude for this. We gotta still head up here, so... Which is good. So we'll actually be able to knock out both these missions at once. And this one is, let's see, half a mile away. So 289. The hell is it? Over here? Over here. So that's actually the dude we were looking for earlier. He just must have drifted away more. Often the boats, because there's a big area, so likely it's against one of the islands is what I'm thinking. Just kind of keep an eye out for it, and we'll kind of piddle around the islands here and try to find this boat. But you can see the money's still going up as that diesel's selling, so we can just pretty much chill out. This was part of the problem with like why I don't like them adding in things like these hospital boats without a checkbox, because see we got two in close proximity. And I've got a good enough PC, it's not really causing me any problems, but you can see, especially people with lesser PCs are going to have issues where could start to have resources tanking and yeah, end up having to clean up all the vehicles. There we go. Alright, so fire has been extinguished, so that means we got close to this. There it is, right there. All right. And the high level of money is due to just the fact that there's a ton of people here. Yep. I knew it was gonna get wet again here. I like the new boats they put in the game here for the rescues. Because they put in like power connections and fuel so you could do the where you have to either put power to the vehicle or refuel them. Alright, let's see. So this one says 4 casualties, so we should have 5 total. There's 5 total. Alright, we're out of here. So we could go to the hospital boat. That might be a little bit quicker. It's more of a pain in the ass, but yeah, it's just too much of a pain in the ass. I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, yeah, it's here, it's closer, but I gotta make multiple trips. Well, let's go to the hospital boat just to do something different. And I can use the anchor in the front. It's currently attached to my boat, and I just move it up and then deselect it, and it will let me attach to the back of something. So that's a good bit of money. That's between the 2 missions here, that's going to be 5 and 11. So that will help us get this going here. And we're still, as you can see, collecting cash from selling that diesel. So if I had done it right, I would have been able to return the helicopter to the base. It's one of the reasons I made the skid steer, was to be able to spawn the module separately and move it over to the helicopter, so I could spawn the helicopter, spawn the module separately, and then it works as a separate vehicle when I recall the helicopter to the bench. Alright, we're attached. I'm just gonna go off the side here. Could get them all to follow me, but I'm just trying to start getting rid of them here real quick. I'll try to get them to follow me here. That's awesome. Thanks for following me, guys. Real helpful. Alright, they're gonna be a pain in the ass here. I'm gonna have to just grab them all. Whatever. Here we go. Get them. Got most of them? There we go. So let's see. I think that's it, actually. Nope, we got this jackass here. Come on, dude. You're being a real pain in the ass here. Alright, good. So that's Let's get a bit of cash there. We needed that. So we're out here. 61, 285. I'll head back to base. How's it going there, Sergeant? It's all right, Sergeant. Good to see you. All right, so nice. We got a good bit of cash off that. Then we get into mining again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this vehicle and this trailer. So that's where I need a bunch of money. I already have the front end loader out in the world, and the benefit of this is, I talked about it last time, the thing with the loader is it's very interactive. I have to sit there and actively make it work the whole time, which is fine. But as I'm making a trip where I'm running coal back to the base, I end up, when I'm running a trip, you know, a run back to the base, I'm not doing any mining because I'm by myself. And so nothing's getting done. So there's these big periods of no productivity. And so by using this thing will keep drilling while I'm off doing a run. And when I get back, I just need to move it. And so it's doing some work while I'm gone, more mimicking as though there were a team of us doing it. And that way, because coal is so, it's not that profitable. It's not that it's not profitable. It's just you need a large quantity of coal to make any real money worth your time. And so I need to do, you know, like, I need to do train load of coal to really make any money at it. And so, to a certain extent, it doesn't matter to me too much because, you know, as long as I'm having fun doing it, that's all that matters. But I would like to have a good balance where I'm having fun doing it and I can start to achieve some of my other goals, which is like getting bigger vehicles in the game, getting more bases, things like that. So we'll put this back in the bench, and then we'll see where our cash looks like. Right now it's 61. I do probably have to go get the helicopter back. We're still making money. They're selling diesel, but I'll take a quick accounting of what everything's going to cost, and then, you know, we'll see where we're at. Alright, good. So that's back in the base. That gives us $80,000. That should be enough. I'm going to go look here real quick. I don't know why I don't have many containers coming up here. It's definitely other places they're more. It could just be it's taking a while for them to recycle. I don't think this is going to fit in the tunnel. I got to see. We can test it, but let's go ahead and look in here. All right, so this is going to cost me 62,102. 62,102 plus, let's say, 18,000. That's 80,000 I need to be able to get what I need in the world right now to get moving. And we have just about 80,000 and growing because we're selling diesel. I'm going to just quickly teleport over here, see how much diesel I've... Oh, geez, landed right on the helicopter. Oh, yeah, so we've got about a third left on there as far as that's concerned. The brakes are on, right? Yeah, brakes on. All right, so we got about a third left on there. So another $6,000, and then I'll bring the helicopter back, and that'll give us even more money. Because I also want to bring out a truck and a spare trailer so that it never has to stop. So let's go ahead and get that going. We have the capital for it. So let's spawn this. Let's do this smart this time, not like we did with the helicopter where we spawn, you know, the parts together, and then I can't despawn them without losing both parts. Because what would happen is if I bring the trailer over and I try to despawn it, I'm going to despawn this part as well. So this thing is a great vehicle, works really well. And so instead of rebuilding something new is what I was thinking of doing at first. I'm like, why don't I just go use this again? All right, and then what I want to do here too is, I'm not going to screw with it right now. Let me make sure there's no coal in here. All right, good. So part of the whole thought process with this, originally this had a slide table that would take containers, so you could containerize the coal. The only real issue with that was the fact that it was kind of laborious because you had to drop it off. It was kind of a cool idea. This works better by having the trailer, because I can bring a truck with a new trailer, and as this is getting full, this would just drop its trailer, pick up the new trailer, and we'd be on our way, you know? All right, good. That's hooked up. All right, let's go ahead. And, so this one has HETIS, which is my tractor trailer integration system Mark II. I personally think it's superior to whatever that other system is that everybody else uses. But it's more realistic, it's more complicated, and I see why people might want a simpler system. And so I'm not interested in that simpler system. I'm interested in, like, using more things, like, you know, actual air pressure from the pressure update, where I can build up air pressure to work air brakes, you know? That's why. I keep trying to grab this thing. I'm like, I can't get it, so I got that goddamn defibrillator on me. So, like, this system works. That's my electrical line, and then that's actually pumping air in the trailer. Oh, Christ, what did I just do? God damn it. I just recalled this. Hopefully we don't have a explode. Okay, perfect. Ugh. I went to pick this thing up, and I got the workbench. That sucked. Shit, and I just lost lines doing that. This is really obnoxious already. All right, I accidentally hit the wrong button, and that screwed me. All right, so this is actually pumping air, and that air is what actuates the brakes like it would IRL. And so I like this system, and then I also have a hydraulic system on this. So if you look, we have two more connections here. This pumps liquid, and it goes through the trailer to work the cylinder. And so it works like a real system, and I like that. I think it's much cooler. It uses the pressurization major update, which I think is cool, you know, so it actually uses some of those new game mechanics that when that came out. So that's why I kind of prefer my system to this, you know, the standard. Plus the standard doesn't, you know, have some of the American lighting, and so I kind of use US spec on my lighting. There's no way in Christ this fits in the tunnel. Not a prayer in the world this will fit in this tunnel. So we're going to have to go around the long way. Looking at the height of this thing, I'm like, there's no way. But this is designed to drive on the road, too. It actually, like, it has the back end of some of my tractor trailers. You know, you can see it has the same, not quite the same wheel assemblies as on the trailer, but it has not a complete truck transmission. You see we're doing about 25 miles an hour max. So the trucks can still go faster, and I kind of like to build this way where, you know, like in real life, you don't take a mining truck and drive it down the highway, do you? No, because it's not designed for that. It's designed, it's heavy, it's got small, reasonably small contact patches. It's designed to be able to go off into a mine. Um, you know, they're wider than a lane. They don't have all the right lights. They're too high. They'll hit bridges. So there's all these reasons why you wouldn't drive a mining truck on the road, right? It would destroy the road, do all these bad things. And so what you do is you have a mining truck that works in the mine. It dumps it somewhere. Then we'll put it on a train or we'll put it on trucks, which are designed to go on the road. And so it gives you a reason to have all these toys in game. Where, for example, you know, right now I'm doing 25 miles an hour. That's not bad. But if I had to drive, say, all the way down to Komodo over there to sell the coal, it would take me too long. And so what I would do is I would take one of my road trucks and I would use this road trailer, drop it, pick it up with the truck, drive it down there, and I could do 75 miles an hour down the highway. And that's what it's designed for. You know, so I could do very quick trips. This is designed to ride around the mine, you know, so building those limitations in, I like. You know, and if you don't want to do that, you can have, you know, something that goes 95 miles an hour like this that's pretty silly compared to real life, but, you know, if that's how you like to play, that's how you like to play. How's it going there, Reiki? Are ya? Or Rakai? Urgith, how are you? I'm just trying to read while I'm driving here, always bad. Everything I do is manual. I have a, do I even run any automatics? No, I don't have any automatics. Everything's manual. I prefer it. It really, for a number of reasons. One, it keeps me more engaged driving, but the other thing as well is, like, if I want to go slower, like up this hill, I just shift gear. So I just downshifted 2 gears. That puts a limit on how fast I can go. So especially if I'm trying to, like, back a trailer in somewhere, I've got a, you know, my truck transmissions, I have up to sometimes 4 reverse gears like I would have in the real transmission. And when you're trying to back it up precisely and you don't have good sight lines, you don't want to go too fast. So by leaving it in R1, you can go very nice and slow. If you're trying to do some real precise maneuvering, you put the truck in first gear and you can really maneuver well because your speed's slower and you have more precision. Like we're going downhill now. I could go like a bat out of hell, or I could downshift 2 gears and I limit my speed. So my truck will only go as fast as my transmission will allow. And so I like that with a manual. You know, plus it's a hell of a lot more engaging. Like, I would really like to buy a manual car, IRL, for a fun car. Because, like, it's just boring. Like, you know, I like my hybrid. It gets great fuel efficiency. It accelerates fast, but, like, it's a great relaxing car to drive, but it's not engaging at all. I just push the pedal down, you know. That's why, like, my motorcycles are fun to ride, you know, because I have to shift gears, rev, boop, 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 boop. I got going too fast right there. I upshifted 2 gears and got a slide going there. Yeah, so my motorcycles are much more engaging having a manual transmission than an automatic, you know. Well, like Honda tries to sell you all these automatic motorcycles. I'm like, no, I have no interest in that. Alright, good. So down the mine. The other thing, too, is we can use that front loader. So this thing is going to sit and drill. Alright, and because it's going to sit in one spot and drill, that could be considered boring, right? It's just you're standing there doing nothing. So one of the reasons I left the front loader in the world here is that I can go ahead and I can use the front loader to pick up ore off the ground. And this thing can be drilling in one spot, and then I can go ahead and I can dump in the back of this. So it will also accelerate the amount of time, you know, make it quicker to get this thing filled. So let's go ahead and turn on the headlights on here. This has a float system, so we'll go ahead and we'll let terrain follow. It will automatically follow the terrain. I hated how it does this shit where it goes backwards because of the brakes. That's silly. I don't know why the game does that. See how it goes backwards? That's some brake thing. I don't know why the game does that. Drill, spout. Alright, so like this thing is going to sit here and just drill stationary. and it's going to fill the trailer, so that's good. This piece of equipment here I can get rid of. So that was with an add-on. Let's get rid of it. Alright, so that's gone. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get in the loader. Something is really lagging me out at the moment. I gotta see what the hell's going on here. Could just be this. This kind of was buckling for a second. Alright, here we go. So now I can, so this is a little bit more engaging for me to actually drive something. And so I can drive this here while that's drilling, so it allows me, you know, playing by myself to kind of still have some engaging gameplay. So that has a capacity, that trailer has a capacity of 2,250 units of ore. And so the bucket on this is 108. And so part of the reason I kind of decided to go with this, you know, for the career is it's going to help me make this coal reasonably profitable, because it really isn't all that profitable. It's not that it's not profitable, it's time consuming, and so I need to spend a huge amount of time doing coal mining to make any profit, because, you know, I'm only getting $2 per ore. So I can come up here and I can dump this in the back here and, you know, add to the speed that we're doing this. I think that's about, no, we're a little short of it. All right. There we go. So let's see where we're at here fill-wise so far. So this is kind of that stationary mine I was talking about before, is where it's kind of nice. I can park this, and then I can be engaged. So we're already up to 303 on that. We're going to move spots on this now. So there's a good combination of factors doing it this way. So one thing I'm going to try to do is straddle multiple ore nodes here if I can. So like right there, there's 3. So I'm going to just go park this sucker right here, and it can drill for a while, and it doesn't need to move. And then we'll take the loader and we'll just get moving around. Okay, they left the door open. That's my door open with break off warning. What tractor? The one that's hooked up to the trailer there? Yeah, I was thinking of maybe updating it to flexible ducts. The only thing is, like, there are places definitely in that I would update with flexible ducts. I was thinking about putting a new engine in. I was gonna tear it apart, and I'm like, I just want to get playing, so. But that tractor I might update. Yeah, I don't care about profit really per hour. I think the crabbing is way OP. They need to fix that. Like, they could add some cool features in there to make it reasonable where, like, I still like the idea of having some, for example, I think the Arctic should be the king of crab. Like, that makes sense, right? Cold waters is generally where you're going to get lobster and crab. And so I think the best fish should be in the Arctic, but there's not a lot of people in the Arctic. And because there's not a lot of people in the Arctic, right, the demand is low. So, for example, I live in New England. You know, we have some of the best lobster areas here. And so, you know, New England's known for their lobster. And, well, it's not cheap now. It is decidedly cheaper here than it is in other parts of the country or the world because it has to ship from here to there. And so the shipping cost alone will add to the cost of a lobster. And so we can generally get lobster a lot cheaper here because it's close to the source, but we have a large population, so there's a large demand, so we're not getting it for super cheap. Now, if it was a small population, like say in the Arctic in game, there's, let's say only 1,000 people live up in the Arctic in game, right? Well, you're not going to have that many people who are going to want lobster every day, right? And so the lobster is going to be much more profitable to go down south and sell where there are people, like Sawyer Islands. You know, there's a lot of people who want lobster. And so what you would do is, you know, you make a fish selling spot. Yes, there's one in the Arctic, but lobster is worth like almost nothing in the Arctic because anybody and their brother could just go on a boat and get some, right? And so what you do is you make it so that the demand essentially, because not a lot of people live in the Arctic. God damn it, I'm having problems here. Talking and doing this at the same time. You would make it so that the profit, or the demand in the Arctic is so little that, you know, a lobster might get you, let's say, $1 a lobster, right? But you go down to Sawyer Islands where there's a lot of people, a lobster might be worth 50 bucks. Well, that makes it viable for you to, for example, take a 3x3 hopper, which would have 27 lobsters, right? So if you said 27 lobsters, say it was $50 a lobster, right? That's $13.50 for a trip down with one 27 by 27. Let's say you do 4 of those, right? That's $5,400. That might make it worth your while to take a plane and fly it down. So now that gives you some good gameplay and some reason to build some builds, right? It gives you a reason to go up to the Arctic, fish for lobster, put them on a plane, fly them down to Sawyer where lobster, the price is much higher. I would like to see the devs further do stuff where, say, for example, you know, the demand in Sawyer is for maximum 1,000 lobsters. Once it hits 1,000 lobsters, you know, the price pretty much drops down to nothing, right? Because you've fulfilled the demand. And now the price drops out to, say, $2 a lobster again, like it is up in the Arctic, right? And so then you start maybe flying or bringing some lobsters down to the arid biome. But there's, you know, it's a desert. There's not a huge population there, but maybe you get $25 a lobster. So, you know, you can still do that, but it also puts a cap on your money, so you're not just like printing money, because that, you know, people think that's funny and cool, and oh, I can drag a hose from this fuel seller to this fuel buyer and just make infinite money. Well, at that point, money has no value, right? Money, you know, if you could just make $1 million tomorrow in 10 minutes, right? Well, it would cause a currency collapse, right? You have countries that, you know, they literally have $1 million notes for that very reason, is you get a currency collapse, right? And so, that sort of thing would, I think, would play well in game where, you know, I've talked about it before, like, I would love to see an island way down here. You know, I'd love to see an island down here, and the best fishing is around this island. But it's a tiny little island, there's not a lot of people, and you make the island, say, the size of this, or the size of this, right? So a little bit of an island. And you put a little airstrip on there, and you put a bench and a hangar, and the big bench for boats, you could spawn big boats, and you go out and you'd fish around this island, and you get this really high-value fish, but there'd be no place to sell it, because so few people live in this fishing village island, and they go fishing all day, so they just get it for free off the boat essentially. But you put it on a plane, you fly it out to where the people are, where the demand is. And I think that adds a good element to gameplay where, you know, the whole point of the game is building your own builds, and so when you go fishing and you get a bunch of fish, and then you could load it on your own airplane or helicopter and fly it somewhere, and it's profitable enough because the demand is there, that's where I think it really makes some fun gameplay. You know, so putting a little bit of that economics in there. They used to have more economics in the game, and it kind of got screwed up. They were doing it with oil, where like you couldn't sell too much at once. And I kind of agree with it to a certain extent, but like they kind of overdid it, or it wasn't implemented well, and so there were issues with it where, like, you know, some people, you know, they don't understand the scale of the game, or they don't care about the scale of the game. They just want to make their own thing, whatever. And so the problem was, you'd have somebody who'd try to build. They put in an XML edited workbench, which is bigger than what the devs intend you to play with, and they put this monstrosity of a ship that can hold like realistic quantities of oil. And the game's economics is based off of, you know, kind of the scale of the game, right? 50-meter ship is about the biggest ship that they intend you to make. And so now you have this monstrosity. Well, you start getting into problems where, you know, they're trying to balance how long it takes to pump your ship out, and then what's the demand there, you know? So, you know, do you really want to make $1 billion in one trip? You know, it might sound fun the first time you do it, but I think it's pretty goofy because, like I said, you know, once you've made your $1 billion, well, what do you go spend it on, right? You know, you've got nothing to spend it on, right? What do? Go buy another oil tanker, make $2 billion? That's not good gameplay, right? That's boring as shit after a while of printing money. Because, like, I could go in the XML file right now and I could edit the game to give me, you know, edit my save file to give me $1 billion. Well, I would be bored to tears, right? Because money has no value anymore. Right now, if you saw when I started this this episode of the Career Build series, I was in a money crunch. I couldn't spawn the vehicles I wanted because I didn't have enough money. So what I have to do, I had to go do a couple rescues to get the money I needed to be able to do the gameplay I wanted to do. And so that made it valuable to me. You know, so now I'm like, oh, good, I've got this feeling of success that I've got the money now to do the thing I want to do and bring in the toys that I want. And, for example, I built a bigger front-end loader already to go with my larger mining dump truck. Well, I'm excited to, when I finally get enough money in game, that I can spawn that front-end loader and I can spawn the big dump truck, because then I can increase my operation and play with my big toys. Well, that gives me a sense of progression. It gives me a sense of accomplishment. It gives me a goal. These are all good things for gameplay, right? And so when you take that away by just giving yourself infinite money, and then people say, oh, I'm bored. Of course you're bored. I've been told to lower my voice, so. All right. You know, so just making maximal money all the time is pretty boring, so you have to have good balance, and balance, I think, is the right word for it. You put the right balance in the game, it makes it so that you can progress at a reasonable level. You don't get burned out. You know, the grind isn't too much, but you're still having a good time, you know? And that's one of the hardest problems with games is because, you know, you got somebody who doesn't have a job and can play 12 hours a day playing Tarkov. You know, they can do that grind all day long. You get somebody who's got a job, well, they need to get something accomplished in the 3 hours, maybe max a week they can play, and so it's very tough to get that balance going. All right, let me read some chat here. Yeah, I would love an economics update. That'd be great. I'm sorry, what was the you good cap? What's that about? Is that about me having to lower my voice? Alright, let's go ahead and move that. So this is working well. This is a good combination of vehicles. You know, like I said, I can get this one pretty much sitting on a spot, and I can go ahead and keep, you know, driving the loader and having fun doing that. Let's see where we're at on this one. Alright, so we're about 50% full on this trailer, so that's good. We still should be... Okay, that number's not going up, so our helicopter is pretty much done. Let's see what I want to do here. Let's move this over to a richer spot, because these are starting to... they will come back, but they're... they come back slowly, so I need to move somewhere else so that I can keep this running while I go pick up my helicopter. Oh, no, somebody's trying to sleep in the house, so I'm just being too loud. Right. So let's go ahead and... This should be empty. Alright, good, that's empty. This goddamn defibrillator is pissing me off here. Alright, what's that? Oh shit, I got low battery here. I gotta try to get one started here. Hopefully I can get started. There we go. Alright, once it's started, I'm good. Alright, good. That was close. I'm gonna take off with one rotor. So it's gonna take a while because it just, you gotta spin it up. Yes, the ore in stormworks replace itself. It takes a little while, but it will replenish. And so, like, when it shows back up on the ground, it's not a full patch. It takes a while for it to get to 100% capacity again. I'm gonna go ahead and start the other engine. I want max power here for power generation. You can see my voltmeters here. They're starting to charge up, so we're good there. I left all the lights on too, which didn't help. And then the pump runs too off the batteries. So kind of the plan is I can store coal in the base. And so what we're going to do here is once I get this helicopter put away, I can afford to get one of my tractors out and spawn a second one of those trailers. And what we'll be able to do is go up there, drop a fresh trailer, hook it up to the mining tractor, and then I can drive it back. And I'll just despawn it. That's why I brought the trailer separately, is so that I can despawn that trailer by itself, and the coal will go into the base and then store in the base. And so instead of me putting a train out there that I have to fill, and now I got a train with 10 train cars, and I got like 20 vehicles, and they're quite a ways away from one another, that's a good way to get into a problem with having too many vehicles in the world and just lagging out. And so instead I can just use a smaller number of vehicles. Alright, this goes back in the workbench. I'm going to do this. So I can't stand having this thing in my hands anymore. Get the fuck out of here with that. There we go. Alright, that's gone now. Yeah, so this is a good mix of being able to, you know, me driving a vehicle and not like sitting there watching it drill for me. That shit gets boring after a while. It's much more engaging for me to actually drive the vehicles. But like that sucker can sit over there, and I could also dump into the back, and that was kind of intentional when I built that. So. Yeah, I would love to see another new dev Q&A. They've been doing some great stuff on their own too. Like, you know, it's funny. I still, like, somebody had it last week. They're talking, oh, the devs pretty much abandoned the game at this point. Like, no good updates. Like, these have been literally some of the best updates they've ever had for the game. Like, fundamental changes to things like the ability to stack nodes. Like, that's huge. Putting RPS connections inside of pivots, that made this build possible. Like the left arm of this loader, the engine connects all the way from the engine up through the pivots, through the arm, and then because of the new small pivots have an RPS connection to them, this loader can connect to them. And so that's the only way in hell I'd be able to get this to have the same performance. I'm out of fuel. Okay. I gotta be careful. I will kill the battery. Alright, batteries are alright. Let's go ahead and shut down. Alright. I need to fill up. So what we're gonna do is, is this a little cheaty? Sure. Trying to think if I want to do this like this or not. Let's do it cheaty this way. It's really not saving me much money. All it's doing is being less of a pain in the ass, frankly. So here, I'm going to put it on display cap for those who don't know how to do the add-on editor. So here, let's go from here. So here's the add-on editor screen. So we'll go from here. So add-on editor. All right, you go in the add-on editor and you name it whatever you want. So this is going to be coal mine fuel truck. All right, coal mine fuel truck. And then you want to go to mission locations, and you're going to get mission locations. And then you want to find the mine. And so mainland quarry right here. You're going to go to edit objects. All right, so here's the quarry. We can go inside, which is where this is. Now the ability to move this around is a little bit wonky, but you see it's not too bad. So we're in the mine now. I'm going to pick a vehicle. I'm going to go to my mini truck. Now this is cheaty because the fuel becomes free. So now my mini truck's in here, right? So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go coal, mine, fuel. All right. Now I'm going to go to load, and there's coal mine fuel. We're going to click coal mine fuel, and we're going to go test location. And now we just got our little guy for free. And I do this all the time when we play multiplayer because inevitably somebody's going to tip something over. And as the host, you want to stay close to all the people you're hosting in your multiplayer session. It helps with lag. And so you don't want to go way the hell away, spawn a vehicle, have to drive it for 20 minutes out to the people to, you know, you got somebody trying to play there who, you know, they don't, you know, let's say they tipped over a truck. Well, they can't play because the truck's tipped over, right? So what I can do is use the add-on editor, bring it right to us. It's free. It takes me 2 seconds. It's not resource intensive. And I can, for example, put my crane in the world and not have to worry about spending money on it, going a long distance, causing lag to everybody. And then once I pick the vehicle up, I can despawn it. And so it makes it much, much better. Where is the filler? I think it's on the other side. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. All right, good. I'm going to try to get a thumbnail picture here. You know, so having things like wreckers and cranes, it's all really easy to do that. And I still have to make the video. I was talking about it earlier, was making a video about using the add-on editor as a free way to put, say, a crane at the dock, so that when you're just starting a career game, if you want to do some containers, you don't have to buy the other base to be able to get the equipment to be able to do container missions. You can actually just spawn in a crane, load your vehicle, spawn another crane. You don't have to be an advanced builder who can, you know, you don't have to be an advanced builder who can create a boat that can handle a crane and a heavy container. You can just, you know, you can spawn your crane in instead. Then I want to get rid of this. I gotta kill the light on that, on the mini truck. Try to take another picture. Try to not leave every door in the place open. Alright, good. Got a couple pictures there. But this is working really well. If we go up and let's look at what it's holding right now. I gotta move this, but yeah, so these ore patches will come back, but they'll look like they're back right away. Not right away, but they'll look like they're back after a little while, but they're not at full capacity. So like if I stayed on them forever, I'm not gonna get ore forever. It would, like, 10% would come back and I'd eat that 10% up, then it would eat nothing for a while. You need to give it some time. Oh, I forgot this Johnny was still connected. I have the... Yeah, so this is a good way to do it. It's kind of a good combination of having the stationary type of vehicle and something that gives you that ability to move around and do it. You know, at the end of the day, you're trying to have the most fun per minute. It doesn't matter how much money you make per minute, and some people, they don't get that concept, and to their own detriment, and then they get bored. And a big part of getting bored is you know, their goals are screwed up is try to have as much fun per minute. You know, why do you care about how much money you make per minute in the game? You know, now if the money lets you do some of the things you enjoy more, like for example, bigger vehicles, well, give yourself some extra money to start with. If that's where you really have the most fun, is with big vehicles, give yourself enough money just to get big vehicles out. And then use your big vehicles to make more money to get more toys out, you know? That's kind of how I like to do it, you know? But like, you know, some of the goals we have for later in the series here are, I would like to be able to get out Tethys, which is one of my home ships. It's my newer home ship. And so Tethys is very expensive to run. It, you know, it's like hundreds of thousands of liters of diesel to run that sucker. And I'm going to convert it from steam to diesel. It's currently steam. I did that kind of as a joke for Darkside Tripper, but, you know, I don't like it as steam. I would much rather make it diesel. And I want to do 360-degree azipods on it, so I can translate and move sideways. And so that's a big goal. It's going to require a lot of money to be able to either spawn that ship. I forget, it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then I need hundreds of 100,000 something liters of diesel to just run the sucker. And so that's good late gameplay. And so, like we were talking before, but like if you just give yourself $1 billion, how boring shit would get. Because the problem is, what makes it rewarding is that right now we're busting our ass coal mining to go get some money here, and eventually all of our busting our ass here doing this thing and that thing and the other thing is going to lead to our ability to have the toys we've been looking for. And so the other thing that will lead to boredom is if you don't have another goal after that. Like, you need another goal, you know, after you get to that. So like I got plenty of goals with that. Like I like making my own custom island. You know, I like doing some container missions and planes and doing all this other stuff. So keep coming up with objectives, and that will keep you from getting bored. All right, let's go ahead, and I want to refuel this while I'm here. And so yes, this fuel is free. It was about 500 gallons, which 2.2, was it 2.2 liters per gallon? Let me look. Uh, 3785. So 500 times 3.785. That's about 1800. So let's say 2,000, just around. It's 1,900 essentially. 1,900 liters at $2, right? So you're talking $3,800 worth of free fuel we've given ourselves. We could strip that off, or we could just say, you know what, we're going to give ourselves a little bonus here. You know. Yes, the little refueler has a pump in it. Yep, it's in there. It's inside the tank. Let's see if I can maneuver around, not walk into the drills. So like, see how these have come back? They're not at full capacity. So they're still, you know, they look like they're back, but like it would take me seconds to drill those up. Yeah, I think they're doing great. You know, it's, you know, they're never going to be able to make everybody happy, and they shouldn't try. You know, that's a fool's errand. They have their own, you know, you have that expression, too too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's a problem. You really need to like have your own vision and make it work. I'm just gonna run and get a drink. But you really need to have your own vision and make it work for what you want. Like, and the other thing is, just because it's popular, that's frankly irrelevant. It's like, you know, you can make the game more popular by dumbing it down, and that would make it a different game. You know, you have a vision, you make a niche game for a small audience of dedicated people. And one of the things that makes it so you can play this game for, like, I have 7,000 hours, is that, you know, it's complicated. And it takes you a while to get good at it. And there's a lot of, you know, you feel rewarded when you learn these new and complicated things. And dumbing it down where, for example, you put a pre-built engine on a chassis and it works. Or, you know, just put a radiator on an engine and it magically cools, is frankly boring. Learning how to make an engine that balances RPM and load, so that, and the ability for you to then be able to cool that engine, those are all things that you learn. And then once you learn that, you get to keep that knowledge. And, you know, like, it's a piece of cake for me to pretty much cool anything right now. It's not hard, but, you know, it took some time to learn these things. And I try to pass it on with tutorials, you know. Alright, so we're not going to wait the whole time for that, but so, like, say we want to get rid of the fuel truck, all we do is go to add-on editor. If you look, it says you're currently testing a mission. Just take it back, close it, and now we're done testing the mission. Alright, so the mission's gone, and, you know, we didn't pay for any of that. Now, if you want to consider that cheaty, you know, fine, but it's, you know, that's the sort of thing that, like I said, if you tip something over, it could be Frustration Fest 2026 for you to have to go get a crane, get the crane down here. You might not have the money, so now your only vehicle is tipped over on its side, and you don't have the money to tip it over, and boo-hoo, woe is me. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to take the add-on editor, I'm going to spawn my crane for free, I'm going to clean up my accident, and I'm going to continue having fun. You know, and lifting my vehicle with the crane is going to be part of my fun. You know, and building a crane so that I can lift my vehicles is part of my fun. You know, kind of having that outlook and that attitude is really going to make it more enjoyable. So see how quickly those nodes are going away? That's because they've regrown, but only at, like, say, 1 or 2%. And so they just pretty much instantly go away. And so there's no point, like, and they did that so you don't sit in that node all day long and just make infinite money. Again, that shit is boring, making infinite money. You know, a lot of the people I see who say they get bored at this game are the ones that play custom exclusively, because they never have to worry about the cost or the efficiency, right? They turn on infinite fuel if they want, they get free fuel. Fuel doesn't have any cost, so there's no point to ever make something fuel efficient. And so they never get to that kind of higher level building where they're making fuel efficient vehicles, they're making sacrifices. Maybe it doesn't drill as fast, but it's more fuel efficient, so they don't have to refill it every 2 seconds. You know, maybe it takes a little bit longer to drill, but it's much more fuel efficient, like this vehicle, right? Yeah, see how quickly that disappeared? Because it just came back. So, like, if you didn't know about this vehicle, if it's in first or second gear, that's when it drills, and if it's in a higher gear, it doesn't. And one of the reasons I did that was the drills use an insane amount of power, and so because of that, they're very fuel hungry. And so by going into the higher gears, it detaches the drills, and I can drive around and not burn tons and tons of fuel. So it's a good balance act. No, I agree. I think there's always ways to make the game better, and that's what I'm saying. Is I'm very much for that. You know, I think they've been doing a great job of it lately. Yeah, they've been doing a really good job of it lately. Like, I'm like tickled pink with the new latest update where you can overlap nodes, because like I love making tiny little builds because they're the most challenging thing. Is like making a tiny truck like those mini trucks. It's a challenge to fit everything in there. And so when they make it so I can make smaller nodes and make my microcontrollers like literally like half the size, um, it's really, that shit's exciting because now I can make more miniaturized stuff. So I'm probably gonna finish up. What time is it? Yeah, we'll see what time. I'm gonna play for a little bit longer. Stand by, I'm just writing a message. Alright, let's see what's going on with this. It should have a... Can't remember where my fuel read is on this. Okay, that's high engine temp. That's what it's doing. So usually most of my builds have overheat protection, and all it is it stutters the PID when it gets too hot, and so you hear it kind of stuttering. That's all it's doing. And so it prevents it from overheating. And that there is our hopper full. So container fill level is full, so let's turn off the drills. And let's see where the trailer's at, because that just means that these hoppers are full. Yeah, see, it's over full, filling the trailer there. Okay, good. So that's good. Let's put these in my pocket for now. I don't. It's such an inconsequential amount. It doesn't really matter. But all right, good. So we got that going. Let's do this. So this is kind of, this was inspired by some of the farming sim vehicles, and so one of them was interesting, was a forage harvester, and it would have a trailer on the back, and they actually have these IRL. And what you would do is you would you pull the trailer around, you fill it with forage, and then you detach the trailer, and then somebody brings you a fresh one. And that's the best way to do it, because you keep them active and you keep yourself active. Alright, good, that's that. Alright, good. So that's full. Let's go ahead and we want to... Alright, so this mission came down here because we have no clip on. Did I fix the fuel gauge on the dump truck? I can't remember. Which dump truck? The I know which one you talk about. Thanks for reminding me. Let's see. I built a new version of that dump truck for being in the coal mine. It's shorter. It's this one here. Let's see. Where's my fuel tank? Alright, fuel tank's going to nowhere. Battery, RPS, linear speed, starboard fuel, port fuel. Okay, port fuel. It's just not plugged in. And this one only has one tank, so that's fine. And then I think it, let's see. Of course, starboard is X. Z. Let's make sure real quick before I screw this up and copy over something I don't want to. Make sure this is the L. Nope. Alright. Let's not screw with this right now. I can do that later because I don't want to break that. Okay, there it is. I was going to say, we get spawn. My brake's not working? I don't think my fucking brakes are working. What the hell? Oh, I'm out of the seat, that's why. Nope, my brakes aren't working on this tractor. What the hell is going on there? That's funky. Huh. Why are my brakes not working? Kinda need brakes. Does the Mac have... I don't think it's T-TIS 2. That's the problem. I need T-TIS Mark II. That was the one that had T-TIS Mark II. Yeah, Mac R hasn't been updated. What is up with the... What is up with the brakes on this? Let's see if I can fix that. Eventually when it spawns. Alright, so we'll just go like this. Alright, so that's got full brakes applied. We'll see why the brakes aren't applying. Okay, why are we doing no brakes here? Huh. Something's up. The brakes. Need fuller 18 speed. Where's T-TIS? Like, see how many panels I need for these tractors? They don't have that much space, so they're really hard to hide. That's why it's such a great thing, that overlap. Because, like, if you look at this panel, that we can cut this panel down by 3 nodes. Because these can overlap on 3 of these. So we can take these 3 and cut the panel down that size. So that's really a big thing. All right, let's see. 2 is WS. So if the delta is less than 0, which is braking, and 13, which is should be that on there. That's Jake brake is 13. Okay. Where's brakes? All right, here's the service brake. Brake valve. All right, here's 2. So this is where we're doing brakes there. So this should be seat. Yeah, so seat's right there. Light panel, connect seat to light panel. Let's make sure that's connected correctly. this should be working. All right, so let's go to the light panel. Right there, light panel. And then that goes out to TTIS. Wherever it is, right there. So that's going to TTIS. And that's light panel connects seat to light panel. All right, so that's all connected. All right, so this is where we're getting our seat for the actual brake number here. So, all right, so this is the brake. So negative X is going to turn that into a positive number. Plus Y. Y is what? Y is going to be... that's Jake brake. So that's adding the Jake brake times Z. Z is the reservoir max atmospheres. So if the reservoir is full, it will essentially the more brake pressure in the reservoir. So let's say that you have no air pressure in your brake cans, you have no brakes. So the air pressure that builds up in that tank will go to a maximum of 11.5, and that will maximize that up. That's going to a PID. We have brake can pressure. That's the actual pressure of the can pressure. And then that's the p-value. Brake system max pressure. So what this is doing is this is essentially converting the brake pressure so that you're not doing 11.5 brake, you're doing 1 brake. So you put the max brake pressure in there. This is going out to a PID there. Brake valve rate 1. So it's 0, max rate is Z of 1. X there, and then brake valve right here. Okay, brake valve goes there, and then the brake valve should go to the engine, to the brakes. So this is literally controlling the brakes by pressure, like it would IRL. So that's why that's why I like this system. All right, so there's service variable brakes. All right, where's that? Service variable brakes right here. All right, and so this number here is coming off of where? All right, so this is the brake can pressure. How much pressure is actually in the can is going to be Z. So it's Z minus 1 divided by X. So the reason you do the minus 1 is so that it doesn't always have brakes on. So let's see. So let's say the brake can pressure is 11.5. 11.5 minus 1. 10.5 divided by 11.5 is going to be 0.91. Goes there. Out to the service variable brake. Let's say the can pressure is 0, or let's say it's 1. 1 minus 1 divided by 11.5 is going to be 0. So let's say the can pressure is 5 minus 1 divided by 11.5 is going to be 0.34 brake. So if the pressure was low in the system, it's going to give us less brake. So we need to build up our air pressure. Okay, let's see what's up with this. That looks connected correctly. I'm trying to see why. That's the blowout valve. Blowout valve. That there is the brake valve. Make sure this, okay, that's why. These don't have electricity. That's all it is. Alright, that's all it is, electricity. And then this doesn't have electricity. That's the brake pump. So that's what it is. Alright, let's see, I gotta hook that up somewhere. That would be off the key. Where the Christ is the... That's the relay right there. All right. All right, the 2 batteries go here, so this is got to be on this side there. Okay. So road, train, tractor, Titus Mark II. And then we'll date it. I've been dating everything. It just makes it easier to make a lot of the duplicates. That's all it was. It was an electrical problem. Alright. So this should have brakes now because the valves weren't actually passing any air and there's no pressure. So see the pressure's up now, so that's good. And we should have brakes now, so there's brakes. And you can hear the air pressure moving around like you would in a real tractor. So it works like it would in a real tractor, and that's like, it was very annoying to me when people were like trying to actively get the devs to just get rid of the pressurization update. It's like there's so much cool shit you can do. Oh, I'm out of money. Okay. I'm out of money. So much cool shit you can do. It's just a lot of them were lacking imagination. And so, instead of just learning the new mechanics, they were like, just get rid of it. Yeah, just go back the old way. And it's like, how about you just learn the mechanics, guy? Yeah, you got to go spend some time and learn the mechanics. Yeah, I get it. You might be busy. It might suck. It might not be what you want to do. But, you're asking for them to take away gameplay that other people asked for because you can't be bothered to learn a new mechanic. And I get it. But, some of us wanted those mechanics in the game. I know I did. Like this truck here, if you notice, it's got the 2 hoses on the left side. That's so I can pump hydraulic fluid to make my trailer dump. The trailer doesn't dump if you don't have hydraulic fluid. That shit's cool. Like this truck, it literally has realistic pneumatics and realistic hydraulics. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty fun and cool. That's the sort of stuff that interests me. I gotta be careful this I don't want to break anything here. What I'll probably do is we'll go dump this trailer and then we'll call it a night here. Yeah. It's one of those things that like you feel silly when it's an electrical problem, but it's also like that build I hadn't touched in quite a while, so doesn't surprise me it didn't get finished in that state. And then a lot of my vehicles had to go and redo for Titus Mark II, and that's why it kind of annoys me, these new trailers the devs put in, because it's like I don't want to have to go, as far as I'm concerned, work with an inferior system. Because again, I lose a lot of functionality. I lose my simulated hydraulics. I lose my simulated pneumatics. I think it's an inferior system to what I have to go use that system that is in the game, and so I would much rather have pallets that I can load onto my own trailers. Like this air hose is literally this air hose is what works the brakes on this. It's the same system that I have in the tractor. The air is pumped through here, and it goes and it works the brakes. And to get this this cylinder here to dump the body, I need to pump hydraulic fluid through here. This is all for hydraulic fluid. The fluid goes in there, and if the pressure's high enough and you close the valve in the tractor, the bed will dump. If you don't have enough hydraulic pressure, it's not going to dump. And so that's the sort of stuff I like. Like, I like having a Jake brake, on the tractor. I like, having my own lighting systems that are realistic. Why is this not working? Shit. Let's see if this could have an electrical problem too, as far as I know. Alright, so like back here, this is the air system. Is this let's see. That is still hydraulics. So that's still hydraulics. And then where is the air brake system here? Something's bonered here. Let me see if it's electrical. So that should be trailer supply. That should let the brakes come off. And it's not. So let's go ahead and do infinite electricity. Shit. Okay, that's not it. Alright, so something is up. Alright, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, that's good. Because we know it works. It was working on the drilling tractor over there. Over here, rather. So I will, we'll finish up, and then I'm going to save it, and I will, I'll spawn the trailer and the tractor. We'll do it before I finish, and see if I can fix it real quick. Because obviously it's having a problem. I want to see about if I can attach to this. Oh shit, we're going way too fast. We're going like 70 miles an hour right there. I want to see what the standard is on these, and see if I can make some quick bullshit node that will make it so I can control that and my own system. Because like the height's right. Alright, so this will pretty much run, I think, without any brakes. So I could do these missions. So I don't have to dick with my system, that's good. Alright. So again, they kind of made it super simple and dumbed down, which is fine, but I can still do them, so that's not bad. I'll be able to do those missions. I haven't looked at them at all, but I would like them to do some palletized stuff so that we can use our own trailers. And I get them. They're trying to please two crowds. They're trying to please the people who like to build their own stuff and the people who want to maybe just build a tractor and not build everything. But, I think doing some palletized cargo could really make that work well. Alright, let's see what the deal is here. So infinite electricity did not fix anything. That goes to the electrical cable output there, which goes to light cord slash brake panel. Okay, that's good. That will go out to light cord. And then that should be writing out brake pressure on there. So we have light cord brake panel right there, light cord brake panel seat. This is the trailer park brake, so this is the different switch for that. And then it's giving regular service brake here and trolley. That's going out on channels what? That is, what is this shit? Brake reservoir pressure, okay. Okay, that's reading the pressure, I guess. Let's see, that's going out to channel 14 and 15, okay. All right, so that's right there. Light cord. Let's make sure this is it definitely was working. It was working on the other one. So where is it? Okay, so this is the stuff here. That is that. Blow-up valve. Where is my brake can? Huh. Because it was definitely working on the other one. What the hell's this? That's the blow-up valve. Where's the brake can? Oh, okay, it doesn't have its own brake valve. Why doesn't it have its own brake valve? It should. This is the module here with all the shit it needs. Okay, it's missing parts. This trailer I think was worked on before, so that's what I'll do is I have to update the other tractor. This trailer is working maybe correctly. I gotta look at it. I need to update this trailer. Let's look at the dates. This is helpful with the dates. That was 4/24. Was it April 5th, 24? And then if we look at that is February 5th, 20. Well, that's the one I just did. That's May 12th, 24. And this one here is April 5th, 24. So this one's likely older. So the Harvester Miner, what's the latest version? This is that one here. This was 5/2/24. So yeah, it looks like the trailer. This might not have all the componentry set up, so I got to go through it all. So I'm not going to do that right now. But I think we're on our way to figuring out. I'm trying to get them all in that standard. So let's go ahead and save this. Let this autosave stop. All right, and we'll make a backup. All right, let's read some of this chat here. Let me catch up on the chat real fast, and then we'll go ahead and finish up. You haven't done any 4-5 Forge challenges. I was gonna do one, but some of the rule sets I'm not a fan of. Exactly what I was saying just yesterday. Can't learn with infinite resources. Exactly. Like, you run it with infinite resources. Yeah, it's like somebody was like, oh, I made this cool boat that goes 400 knots. And it only does like 18 kilometers before it runs out of fuel. And there is no mission in game that is going to be justifiable with doing that. That's fine if you want to do it as a experiment. Yeah, yay, cool, go 400 knots. That's fine. I get all that. But it has no practicality in career, which again, you don't want to play career, that's fine. But you know, it makes the vehicle useless for a lot of scenarios, you know, and so without having that constraint, you really don't learn too much about like, oh well, could I make something that's like half that speed that's still fuel efficient enough to make some profit, you know? Still don't see the fascination with making tiny vehicles. Um, I don't know. The thing I like about it is like this vehicle was this hybrid vehicle here is like ultra efficient. It has no cooling whatsoever. It has a two-cylinder engine. It's diesel electric. It's fast. It's super cheap. It costs 4,800. It's fast. It holds four people. It has no cooling whatsoever. I can run it in the Arctic, go high speeds in the highway, and barely burn any fuel. It's got the tiniest little fuel tank in it, and that's you know, it's got this tiny little fuel tank. That's all it needs to go across the arid biome without any problem. Never overheats, has no cooling at all. And so that's super cool to me because it's like it's ultra compact and it took a lot of engineering skill to be able to get it to work. And so like right now the other thing that's awesome with this now too, which I want to go back to it, is because like right now I can get rid of 3 nodes. So I can shrink this panel, which was a big part of the problem why it has no cooling, is because I didn't have the space for it. And like then you got this one here, that shrinks down by 1. This panel shrinks down by 1. And so now we're able to really make even more compact stuff. And the other thing is like this one, normally, you know, my transmissions are, I'd say 4 gearboxes for some of the smaller transmissions. And so like this needed to be able to do all of that with 2 gearboxes for the generator. And so that's why I had to go with a hybrid system. I usually don't like a hybrid system, but I had to do it because it was so compact. And then like mini trucks, like some of my mini trucks, like, you know, I gotta hide a tiny little ass motor under here, and I gotta jam it all in, and I gotta make sure I can fit a transmission in there. And again, I love the fact that, you know, like you see how much panelage is in here. Like the big one for me is always let's see, like this here, that that will cut down three nodes on that. Lighting is always like lighting takes up a huge one, but this one right here, this is massive. Like look at this. I can cut this down to be a 1 by 3. So I can cut this panel in half because of that new update. That excites me. Lights are always a pain in the ass because they require so many booleans. So now I cut that down by 2. So I can make some really super duper tiny builds because of this. And I just, that's why I like tiny stuff, is it takes a little bit of extra engineering to get stuff to fit really tiny inside, like mini Jeep. And so like the other thing too is like the mini Jeep I built to put in a helicopter. So the whole point of this vehicle was to be able to put into this helicopter. And I kind of like the whole Russian doll concept of like I have my home ship and I want to have a helicopter be able to land on my home ship, and I want to be able to put a little vehicle in the helicopter. So the helicopter will go off the home ship, land, and then you'll drive somewhere in the vehicle. And I just think that's a cool concept. And so like let's see. So this helicopter was built to go on Tethys, and it's built to either take the hybrid or the Jeep. So the mini Jeep was built for this helicopter. And so these were kind of like built for one another. And so I kind of like having these accessory vehicles. And that's one of the reasons I like building tiny stuff, is because it's like this helicopter here fits on Tethys. Let's see what the brake pedal is here. Where's brakes? Probably 6. Usually 6 or spacebar. Oh, I got all the microcontrollers in there. But these vehicles were built so that they could specifically drive in the back of this helicopter, and you could land this on my ship and then fly it somewhere and launch a little vehicle. And I just kind of like that concept of stacking vehicles. I think is a lot of fun to me. But that's why I kind of dig it. And it's like, this sort of thing is just is super neat to me. It's like, just trying to make something really compact, and then like, as somebody who like really likes to work and make transmissions, building something super tiny is tough because I can only fit so many gearboxes. So I really have to work all the details of the engine so that the transmission can still provide power at all speeds, with this tiny little vehicle. And so that's why I like building these tiny little things. It's a good exercise in engineering, and it's rewarding when you figure it out, And they're also super cheap, so like I can really kind of play in any game period and be able to use them. So like something like this is just a lot of fun to me, to have something tiny like this. Like one of my tiniest vehicles, the Patway. This was fun because with the space update we got reaction wheels, and so just built something that I could go from base to base, on this tiny little, Segway type thing. And so this was like something that was fun to like just try to make as compact as possible. And again, that really cool update that the devs did where we can stack panels. Like one of the biggest nuisances I had with this was how big that panel had to be. And so now, by the ability to shrink that, so the ability to shrink and miniaturize things really makes it so that you can just do more. If everything takes less space, you can just do more in total. But like this panel could probably shrink a little bit, and that's awesome. But let me catch up with chat, and then we'll get off. Oh, you like the big stuff? Sorry, yeah. Fuel gauge in the dump truck. Oh, you have an issue with the auto generators? The original TTIS is on the workshop, but the new one is not. I kind of want to get it buttoned up a little bit more. Plus, usually people who watch me, they're the ones who are interested in that sort of thing. Not, I don't care if anyone else uses it, but at some point I'll wrap it up so you guys can use it. But all right, guys, I think I'm gonna finish up there. It was a fun stream. Good to see everybody. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys next one.